The words slipped out before I could stop them. Standing in the bright daylight of a quiet suburban street, watching my neighbor struggle to carry groceries while hiding another bruise beneath oversized sunglasses, I finally said what everyone else was too afraid to say. You deserve better. I expected her to smile politely and walk away like she always did. Instead, she froze. For a moment, it looked as if those 3 words had cracked something deep inside her. And the next morning, before the sun had fully risen over our neighborhood, there was a knock at my front door. When I opened it, my neighbor was standing there with 2 large bags at her feet and tears in her eyes. Before we continue, if you believe kindness can change someone's life and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Love and Destiny for more heartwarming stories. My name is Rowan Hayes, and until that morning, I thought I lived a fairly ordinary life. I worked from home as a graphic designer, lived alone in a modest house, and spent most of my days in peaceful routine. My neighborhood was the kind where people waved from their driveways and exchanged small talk while collecting mail. That was where I first met my neighbor, Serena Vale. She had moved into the house across from mine nearly 3 years earlier. At first, she seemed cheerful and full of life. She planted flowers along her walkway, decorated for every holiday, and always greeted everyone with a warm smile. But over time, something changed. The flowers disappeared. The decorations stopped. The smile became forced. And little by little, Serena became a shadow of the woman she once appeared to be. Everyone noticed, but nobody knew what to say. Her husband, Grant, rarely spoke to anyone. Whenever he was around, Serena seemed nervous, constantly watching his reactions as though she feared making a mistake. I never saw anything dramatic happen. No screaming matches. No public scenes. Just small things. The way she apologized for everything. The way she looked exhausted even in the middle of a sunny afternoon. The way she seemed to shrink whenever Grant entered the room. Months passed, and I often wondered if I should say something. But like many people, I convinced myself it wasn't my place. Then one Saturday afternoon changed everything. I was returning from the grocery store when I noticed Serena struggling to lift several heavy bags from her car. The day was warm and bright, and sunlight reflected off the nearby houses. I walked over to help. As we carried the groceries toward her porch, her sunglasses slipped slightly. For just a second, I saw a fading mark near her cheek. She quickly adjusted them. Neither of us mentioned it. But something inside me refused to stay silent anymore. As she thanked me for helping, I looked directly at her and quietly said the words that had been sitting in my heart for months. You deserve better. She stared at me. The world seemed to pause. Cars passed in the distance. Birds chirped from nearby trees. Yet neither of us moved. Then her eyes filled with tears. She nodded once. And walked inside. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about the look on her face. It wasn't surprise. It wasn't embarrassment. It was recognition. As though someone had finally said out loud what she had been telling herself in secret for years. The next morning, the knock came. When I opened my door and saw Serena standing there with packed bags, my heart nearly stopped. She looked terrified. But beneath the fear was determination. For the first time in years, her eyes held something powerful. Hope. She explained that she had spent the entire night thinking about those 3 words. You deserve better. No one had ever said them to her. Not her family. Not her friends. Not even herself. Somewhere along the way, she had begun believing she deserved the life she was living. She had convinced herself that unhappiness was normal. That being constantly criticized was normal. That feeling small was normal. But hearing those words from someone else shattered that belief. She asked if she could stay with me temporarily while she figured out her next steps. I said yes immediately. The following weeks weren't easy. There were legal papers. Difficult conversations. Moments of doubt. Many nights Serena sat quietly at the kitchen table staring into a cup of tea, wondering if she had made a mistake. Healing rarely happens in a straight line. Some days she felt strong. Other days she felt broken. But every morning, sunlight poured through the windows, and little by little, she began rebuilding herself. She started gardening again. She joined a local art class. She laughed more often. The woman who had disappeared for years slowly returned. One afternoon, several months later, I looked outside and saw something that nearly brought tears to my eyes. Serena was planting flowers. Bright colorful flowers lined her yard once again. The same flowers she used to plant when she first moved into the neighborhood. Only this time, she looked different. She wasn't planting them for someone else's approval. She was planting them for herself. As the seasons changed, so did her life. She found a new job. Made new friends. Started volunteering at a local community center. The confidence that had once been buried beneath years of pain began shining through everything she did. Then came a moment neither of us expected. Nearly a year after arriving at my doorstep, Serena invited the entire neighborhood to a daytime garden gathering. The yard was filled with blooming flowers, laughter, and sunlight. People who hadn't seen her smile genuinely in years were stunned by the transformation. As everyone mingled among the colorful gardens, Serena stood and shared something she had never told anyone. She said that sometimes people don't need a grand rescue. Sometimes they don't need perfect advice. Sometimes they just need one person willing to remind them of their worth. Then she looked directly at me. And smiled. In that moment, I realized something profound. We often underestimate the power of simple kindness. We assume life-changing moments require dramatic actions. But sometimes a single sentence can become the turning point in someone's entire story. If this story is touching your heart so far, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Love and Destiny. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that inspire hope and compassion. Special request, comment below with the words "Everyone deserves better" if you believe every person deserves respect, kindness, and a chance to rebuild their life. Years later, whenever I walk past Serena's home, I still see those flowers. They bloom brighter each season. And every time I see them, I remember that morning when she stood at my door with 2 bags and a fragile dream of a better future. She arrived carrying fear. She left carrying freedom. And all because 3 simple words reminded her of something she had forgotten. That no matter how long someone has suffered, no matter how lost they feel, their story is never over. Sometimes a new life begins the moment someone finally believes they deserve one. And sometimes, the greatest gift we can offer another person is helping them remember their own value.